In 2011, a disturbing case emerged in the normally quiet suburbs of Miami Gardens, Florida. A transgender woman, O'Neill Ron Morris, had been performing illicit injections on clients seeking cheap cosmetic enhancements. Known to her clients as Duchess, she had built quite the reputation in South Florida's cosmetic surgery circles for her voluptuous figure and ability to enhance other women's curves at bargain prices. But rather than use approved treatments, Morris concocted back alley brews that left women permanently disfigured and even cost one patient her life. The horror came to light when one victim, a 30-year-old woman, approached Morris in 2007 about enhancing her buttocks. The client, named Shatarka Nubi, sought Morris's bargain plastic surgeries. Lured by the low prices and impressive results on Morris's own figure, Nubi paid $2,000 to have her buttocks injected on 10 separate occasions over the next 4 years. Initially thrilled with her expanding curves, Nubi's delight morphed into agony as hard, dark knots bloomed under her skin at the injection sites. The woman lay face down on a makeshift medical table, trying not to tremble as her doctor prepared for the injections she desperately hoped would perfect her imperfect backside. Jangled nerves pounded in her ears, nearly drowning out the figure's soothing reassurances. "Just relax, sweetheart. You're gonna love your new curves. This is totally safe. I do this all the time." If only she knew the truth. The mastermind behind this under-the-table procedure was no licensed professional, but a fraudster named O'Neill Ron Morris, who had been masquerading as one for years. Investigators would later come to see patients like this woman as victims in Morris's sadistic scheme to profit from underground plastic surgeries. But on that day, apprehension was clouded by dreams of an idealized body and trust in the warm promises of her caregiver. That naive trust shattered the instant Morris slid a mystery tube into the woman's buttock and pumped her flesh full of a burning viscous concoction. Agony like she had never known seized her body. This was no safe silicone gel. It was acidic poison ravaging tissue and nerve. Her screams did nothing to halt the torture. Morris pressed on, flood after flood of scorching chemicals remodeling the victim from the inside out. Only when the searing pain grew unbearable did the woman force a stop. By then, the damage was done. Morris sealed the wounds with super glue as if it were a routine beauty treatment, assuring it would all be worth it soon. Delirious with pain, her patient stumbled home, hoping the reaction was temporary. But as symptoms compounded, a horrific truth emerged. Morris had pumped this woman full of caustic toxins like fix-a-flat tire sealant and cement. Alarmed doctors at local ERs had no explanations for these symptoms. Embarrassed by her rash decision, the victim fled each hospital after limited treatment, still too ashamed to reveal the botched underground injections. The horrific truth only emerged after 2 weeks when the patient's mother learned of similar cases on the news. She whisked her ailing daughter to a Tampa hospital, where extensive tests finally confirmed the presence of foreign contaminants, injected by the mystery lady claiming to be a surgeon. With the cause identified, doctors tried in vain to reach Duchess and determine what exact chemicals now ravaged the woman's system. Their calls went unanswered. Not only had the victim's health been ravaged, but this fraudster remained free to peddle her toxic torture to other hapless women. She resolved then to push past her shame and speak up before she could poison anyone else. By 2011, the pain left the 31-year-old mother of 3 bedridden and pleading for help in a letter to Florida health authorities. She wrote a letter begging for help in removing the mystery chemicals Duchess had injected years prior. "My rear has hardened and turned black," she wrote. "I feel sick." Investigators immediately opened a case to uncover what substance could inflict such damage from within. But her warning came too late. Just 4 months later, Nubi was dead. The autopsy results were damning. Systemic silicone toxicity from Morris's injections had led to fatal respiratory failure. When questioned, Morris insisted her cocktail contained only safe FDA-approved products. But as investigators uncovered more victims like Keisha Jones, the sinister truth emerged. Keisha described Morris using glue and tire sealant to perform the procedures, carelessly letting the substances leak into deep tissues. She admitted feeling sick for years after her injections, but was too ashamed to come forward before Nubi's death exposed the scheme. Together, their accounts painted a chilling picture. Morris had knowingly pumped women full of caustic chemicals and tried covering her tracks when they developed gruesome reactions. Finally forced to face justice in 2012, the toxic tush doctor appeared indignant. She showed little remorse even as authorities uncovered more grievous crimes. "I am a victim here. The media has found me guilty based on lies," she maintained, denying using any known toxins. She went so far as accusing her disfigured ex-clients of somehow consenting to be mutilated and killed. It wasn't until the judge presented a daunting decade-long incarceration directly ahead that the truth may have finally sunk in for O'Neill. Other alleged victims were in the courtroom, reported CBS Miami. They told the judge they too had become gravely ill after Morris injected them with what they believed would be medical-grade silicone. Keisha Jones even said, "You told us the products were A1 and now we find out they weren't." Greed definitely set in at some point. Jones had trusted Morris, believing her promises of safe, high-quality injections. But after paying large sums from her own pocket, the products Morris used left Jones sick and permanently damaged. The first procedure cost $2,000, documents show, and was witnessed by a friend of Newbie's. For $2,000, Newbie likely imagined an expert injection in a sterilized environment. With each needle poked through, Newbie was being poisoned. Newbie's young daughter witnessed another injection, the affidavit stated, when she peeked behind the bathroom door. She explained to investigators Morris put plastic wrap around Newbie's buttocks and stuck her in the butt with a needle. Another witness to the injections told investigators that they were sealed with cotton balls and superglue. Superglue is meant for minor cuts and scrapes, not holding medical injections in place. No legitimate practitioner would ever use such a substance, but Morris was no legitimate practitioner. According to other family members, Morris even wore scrubs and a stethoscope in carrying out the procedures, dressed up as a legitimate doctor, rather than the fraud she was. It was all part of the act to convince women she had medical training. Morris's attorneys previously argued there was no evidence Fix-A-Flat or superglue were part of the injection cocktail. Prosecutors emphasized in previous court hearings they were never able to determine the contents either, since Morris's operation was underground and illegitimate. But whether Fix-A-Flat or other toxic chemicals, there was no evidence Morris ever injected approved medical products. She merely poisoned women seeking beauty. William Lanphier, Morris's defense attorney, argued that the prison sentence was unjust because his client's patients were well aware they were visiting someone not licensed to practice medicine. But the defense's argument seems callous when Morris clearly presented herself as an expert. Her victims thought they were getting Botox and silicone injections from someone who knew what she was doing. They assumed Morris had medical training and certification based on how she presented herself. Lanphier said to the Sun Sentinel that all parties bear responsibility and blame for what they themselves did, painting Newbie and other victims as reckless. But the judge firmly rejected that notion. There was an assumption of risk obligation from the victims, Lanphier argued. But seeking an affordable cosmetic procedure should not mean risking your life. Women have a right to seek such services safely and responsibly. Nothing about Morris' scam was safe or responsible. That year, Duchess faced conviction on manslaughter charges for stealing Newbie's life and health for profits. As the broken victims' families attested, that was still too lenient a sentence for someone with such wanton disregard for human dignity. At the sentencing hearing, Newbie's anguished mother recounted her daughter's slow, agonizing decline over 18 months at Morris's hands. "She suffered the most inhumane death," the grieving mother lamented. Morris could only offer callous denials that she had ever injected known toxins. But the proof was damning enough to imprison this toxic tush butcher for a decade, with 5 additional years of probation. For many, even this failed to adequately punish Morris's chilling violation of human dignity and the medical oath to first do no harm. While O'Neill Ron Morris's chilling deception can never be erased, Shatarka Newbie did not die in vain. By exposing the wolf in Duchess's clothing, Newbie saved untold other lives from meeting similar fates beneath Morris's needle. In the end, the case of O'Neill Ron Morris stands as a chilling cautionary tale of how unbridled greed and arrogance can literally sicken and destroy those who succumb. By abandoning ethics for profits, this doctor poisoned far more than her patients' bodies. She infected every ideal and oath that legitimate medicine stands for. Justice has prevailed, but the damage done may prove impossible to fully undo.